Hello, and welcome to this new section on prototype development. And we're going to take a look at the overview in this lecture. I'm Arun Singhal, your management coach and mentor with 40 years of experience in people development. So in this section, we will give you a good understanding of how do you develop the prototype. What is the prototype development process to help you build the business? We're coming to the core of the stuff. And we will begin with this lecture. We'll try and tell you what are the steps that you need to take in developing a prototype. We will talk about the winning prototype much later, but we will first talk about how do you go develop any prototype for that matter. So what do you think? What steps need to be taken to develop a prototype? As you see on your screen here, the winning prototype development process is a sequential steps in which the key step is the prototype development in the center. And to develop a winning prototype, we would test it and then go through an iterative process to find a winning prototype, right? So what steps do you think you need to take to develop a prototype? Any thoughts? We need to start with the best way to start this prototype development process is to start with the winning concept, because as we saw in the previous section, the winning concept gives you a starting advantage by telling you a lot about the consumers, consumer insights, competitions, and producing a good initial product brief that can be used to start developing the prototype as you see in the next step. And as we were talking about, it tells you a lot about the winning concept, tells you a lot about what to deliver in terms of the core benefit, for whom, the target customer, how in terms of what could be the possible reasons to believe, and against whom are you going to compete against, so that when you design and develop that prototype, you keep that competitor in mind and develop a product that delivers that core benefit far superior to the way the target competitor delivers to the target customer, right? Wonderful. So, and then once you have started with the winning concept, then you go into the core prototype development process, and that's what you see on your screen here. You start with determining CTQs. CTQ is standing for critical to quality parameters for the designers and developers. And here I'm talking about non-IT products much more, because the prototype development process is a lot more effortful and many stages. It takes time and more money than developing an app on a prototype, which can be, as many people claim on the course, says it can be done in a day's time, but it does. This kind of thing takes months, actually. It's weeks and months, and sometimes for longer products like in pharma companies, some of it could take years, actually. So you start with what is called defining the critical to quality parameters. And what does that critical to quality parameters mean, and how do we determine that? We will have a whole section talking about that. Once we have determined critical to quality parameters, which are in a way, a mandate to the developers to deliver the product must meet those requirements, right? So that's the kind of a thing. What are the quality requirements for the product to deliver? And that's CTQ. So once you have determined the CTQs, the whole team, and this is entirely a team effort of product development, you work through a cross-functional team of designers, engineers, the marketing, the finance, the QA people, the R&D people all work together in developing a best design idea. What is the best way to meet those critical to quality requirement? And we will talk about this in a lot more great details as we go forward. And we figure out many design ideas and pick one best idea that will deliver the CTQs in the best possible ways at the lowest possible cost within the target cost reach, and would meet the requirements of the customers. Once we have developed the design idea and we have validated, we have taken out the risk attached in terms of its failures, then we get into designing the parts and process design. And here I would like to bring an example. The best design idea and this parts and process is very much like preparing a food at home, a dish at home. So what this is how the dish should look. That's your design idea. And then you figure out what are the ingredients do I need in that, And you get all those ingredients, identify the ingredients, and then you set up a process. What ingredient to put first, what to put next, and that's the process of making the food or a recipe, right? So that's similar process is employed in developing non-IT products. Maybe like we will be taking an example of a water purifier, and you will see that how do we go along identifying the CTQs, developing the best design ideas, and then identifying the various parts that needed to be procured and then put together in a systematic way through a process. And we will talk about that process in parts design. Once we have the parts and process identified and designed, then we look at how do we optimize that process in the way that it delivers you consistent quality at the required quality parameters as per CTQ, and we are able to do a predictable performance of the process. And here again it is different from the software companies where it is one-off product development. Here we are talking of same product being produced regularly, month after month after. So we have a process, and that process must be reliable in delivering the quality, in the quantity, and within the cost that we have agreed to do, and the possible time, the cycle time of the process that we have agreed to. So that's broadly the prototype development process that we have, right? You get an overall idea? Wonderful. So what do we do in the next module? So we get into the details of this whole process. We're looking at how do we determine the CTQs. We define what are the CTQs, and we then figure out is there a process that can help us determine the critical to quality parameter. As you'll see, there's a lot more science behind the prototype development than simply producing a rapid prototype as many of the courses will teach you, right? So thank you so much for watching this lecture in which we talked about, we gave you an overview of how to develop a prototype, the four-step process of CTQ determination, finding the best design idea, determining parts and design process, and then optimizing the process to develop a winning prototype to build your business. So I hope you continue to enjoy this lecture, this section, and learning something new, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next lecture.